everywhere right now, but where it actually lives is a far more complex question. So, how do you decide where it actually runs and what practice works best for you? To further dive into this, we're joined by Arsalan, who is a solution engineer at Cisco. Assalamu alaikum, Arsalan. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, all well. आप बताएं ठीक है?
All good. Thank you for asking. Thank you for being a part of our podcast today. Arsalan, before we start, let's talk about exactly what it is that you do.
I've been a solutions engineer with Cisco. I've been with Cisco for the last 6.5 years. Prior to that, I was with Juniper Networks, doing again solution engineering. So basically, solution engineering focuses on some what we call pre-sales function. So people like myself, they work with the customers, they understand their requirement, and they build and propose solutions to them. So that's what I've been doing at least for the last 11 and a half years. Prior to that, of course, I was studying in Canada. I was doing my master's from University of Alberta. And then, of course, prior to that, I was a part of one of the banks, uh, and where I've actually spent about 3 years or so right after graduating from NAD University. So career span about from 2012 to 2026, about 14 years. I've been pretty much doing the same thing. पहले ज़रा काम ज़्यादा कर लेता था, अब ज़रा ज़्यादा बोल लेता हूँ. तो I've been on both sides of the table. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
So yeah, आपके बोलने वाला part तो we'll leverage off of that for this podcast today. Arsalan, based off of our prior conversations, आपने mention किया था कि you specifically work on data center and AI related solutions, right? So with the note of AI in our mind, given कि आजकल कितनी advancements हो रही हैं और AI की utilization कितनी ज़्यादा हो रही है across enterprises, across all industries, would you say कि AI lives in the cloud? And if that's the case, is it because cloud is just convenient? Yeah, is there a logical reasoning behind it as well?
Okay, so yeah, I actually started my work. I started my work as a network engineer. I told you, and then I got interested in data centers. But AI, though, of course, we just started experiencing it, especially in Pakistan. Probably globally, we have been experiencing it like for the last couple of years. Um, जहाँ तक आपने बात की कि AI, where is it? Like in terms of cloud or on-prem? Those are the two areas where it can exist. So it really depends. There is no right or wrong answer to this. Um, Cloud gives you the velocity because there is no setup. There are no server procurements. Because we a few months back, Pakistan had sanctions. We actually required approvals from the State Department in US for a component called GPUs, which are actually required to host AI workloads. And right after placing the order, it actually took about 8 months time for GPUs to get delivered to a customer. So imagine अगर आज customer for example कुछ सोच रहा है और अगर on prem ही करना है, I'll get to it कि जी कब on prem करना है, कब हम cloud पे leverage कर सकते हैं. But अगर on prem ही करना है for assumption sake, so it will take about a year and a half cycle for a customer to start doing or implementing AI within the organization. Now, question is, like I said, cloud provides you the velocity, but it comes with some limitations as well. So, for example, अगर आप मैं सवाल पूछूं, you do banking, of course, right? You have a credit card information that is so personalized, and that is a very sensitive information, right? Can any bank afford to provide that customer data or host that customer data on a cloud? The answer is no. Of course, the regulatory bank, I would ask, like State Bank of Pakistan, will never allow customer sensitive data to be hosted on the cloud. So now, for example, if you want to leverage that data, customer data, and you cannot send that data to the cloud, then what options are you left with? Definitely, you're only left with the option of on-prem, right? So again, like I said, there is no right or wrong answer. You really have to understand what your requirement is, where the data lives, and cloud can be actually good for testing purposes, for rolling out on-prem and or having it on like sensitive data. I would still think, in Pakistan, majority of organizations के जो use cases हैं, they'll have to be executed on-prem. Another thing, which I feel के cloud पे या let's say in general AI के साथ एक challenge exist करता है, which is the guardrails. I'll tell you a very interesting story which happened, I guess, in Canada with Chevrolet, car manufacturer. So what they did was they introduced this chatbot on their website, and what happened is, okay, one of the customers ended up buying a Chevrolet Tahoe for like $1.
How do
Okay,
I get that lucky?
so this is what we call prompt engineering.
Yeah.
Okay, so AI comes with its benefits, of course, convenience, but you have to be very responsible. Organizations have to be very responsible in terms of implementing AI and ensuring कि जी जब वो ये कर रहे हैं, the security guardrails are in place so that similar incidents do not happen. So you don't want, for example, if I talk about कि जी आपका कोई अगर chat bot है, for instance, you are a bank, and a customer of a bank, ask that chatbot, okay, how do I invade, a branch security to penetrate to the locker area? Do you expect that, bot to answer this? You as a responsible organization, of course, अगर उसके पास वो data है, so potentially that model can respond to this. But whether it should respond to this or not, it should not, right? So जब हम बात करते हैं ना AI के, so we're not just talking about security, we're talking about the safety. You don't want chatbots to tell you how to manufacture bombs, or like how to invade into like a personal security, right? So with cloud, of course, these challenges also exist as well. So yes, to summarize this, yes, it provides you the velocity, but AI models tends to swivel towards where data is. So it basically gravitates toward where the data lives, and data typically lives for all the organizations in Pakistan on-prem. So
इस केस में अरसलान, अगर मोस्ट ऑफ द पाकिस्तानी एंटरप्राइजेस वो ऑन प्रेम की तरफ ही अगर हैं, तो कीपिंग इन माइंड ये जो सैंक्शंस इम्पोज हुई थी अराउंड जीपीओज, तो हाउ डू दे नेविगेट थ्रू दैट? अगर उनको 1 to 1.5 ईयर लगता है पूरा सेटअप वगैरह बनाने में, आजकल का एनवायरनमेंट इज सो फास्ट पेस्ड कि हाउ डू दे मेक श्योर कि बाय द टाइम वो एक्चुअली सारा इन्फॉर्म आता है, दे हैवंट मिस्ड आउट ऑन द अपॉर्चुनिटी?
Well, great part of it is planning. If like I said, if the data is sensitive, and the regulatory bodies do not allow you to host data on the cloud, then there are no options on the cloud. So the only option that organizations are left with is proper planning, right? We have helped organizations with expediting the state approvals. Of course, Cisco being an American organization, we have some leverage over like state protocols and state approvals. We have a legal team who works with them, so we have worked with state organizations to expedite as much as we can. But of course, there's no right answer, short answer to this. It's going to take time. Even today, it's going to take. I'll tell you this. The issue continues to get bigger, because what happened is the moment this AI started getting very successful, solving customer problems, the hyperscalers such as AWS, Azure, Google, some of them in China, have started building their own data centers, like a very big data centers. Um, what happened was that AI workloads require a lot of memory, the RAM, right? So अब in hyperscalers ने when they started building their data centers, the memory became the memory supply chain was affected. There are shortages. There are still shortages. The memory prices have shot up by 500%. Um, uh, it's a very complex situation. Customers are actually feeling the pain, but this is where it is. You know, because customer data is absolutely important. That's the most critical part, and AI is no magic. It works on the data. So, um, planning is short answer. Summarizing, planning is the answer. Like, if you have AI use case in mind, then you have to start early. And we are here to help. Again, we are offering assessment services just to lay out 5 years roadmap. So we are helping customers wherever possible.
So, Arsalan, you talked about planning, right?
Yeah.
So, planning, since you work so closely with the customers as well, what's that one thing that you feel they tend to overlook?
Interesting, but and I've actually, there are extremely funny stories, but I would, of course, not share it. Kind of customer stories हैं. So एक बड़ा मेजर इशू है कि पावर जनरली जो डेटा सेंटर्स हैं उनके अंदर जो है वो बिकॉज जीपीयूज एआई को होस्ट करने के लिए आपको जीपीयूज चाहिए. जीपीयूज का सर्वर आप लगाएंगे, so the power requirements, the cooling requirements goes up और काफ़ी ज़्यादा. और आपके पास जो टिपिकली डेटा सेंटर्स मौजूद हैं कस्टमर्स में, उनके जो typical rack infrastructure at data center का, that can provide up to 5.6 kilowatt of power per rack. I'll tell you, this one server, 4 rack units with 4 GPUs can consume 5.6 kilowatt. The rack is 42 rack units. So if you're only consuming 4 rack units out of 42 rack units, that means you're wasting 38 rack units worth of real estate, right?
Yeah.
Talk about Garaj, talk about Jazz. They have their own data centers. Yeah. It's a revenue stream for them, right? Can they afford to waste like 32 rack units worth of real estate?
No,
They
not at
cannot,
all.
right? So because it's new, especially for our customers in Pakistan. There's a steep learning curve as well. Customers are learning as they implement as well. We're also helping them, but this is one thing that I have seen customers never think about कि जी AI करना है, ठीक है, AI के लिए GPUs भी चाहिए, servers चाहिए, but they never really look at the preparedness of their data center. And as a result, we've had conversations where providers like Jazz and there are some other cloud providers can really come in and help those customers, and they are actually helping those customers into accelerating the AI implementation. I'll go back to my previous comment कि जी वो जो question था कि how can when it takes about a year and a half to implement this, there's another alternative to this, which is called GPU as a service, which is essentially what does that mean is you're hosting your servers in another data center locally hosted, like not in Azure, not outside of Pakistan, such as cloud providers like Jazz or Garaj, right? They can host, and customer can leverage that infrastructure into starting their AI journey. So that's another area that we have explored. कि it works really well because जो बड़े providers हैं, they have a bigger muscle, they have a bigger cash flow. They can because they're looking at customers from a different vantage point. For them, it's revenue, right? So they are willing to invest. So that's also another option that we have seen worked really well in our conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like a lot of these companies here within Pakistan, agar on-prem ही रहना है, तो not all of them can afford it, right?
Yeah,
Not all of them have the resources to manage it in terms of the people even, right?
absolutely.
It requires a lot of investment. So I think GPU as a service from that perspective, it really, gives them the platform and
Yeah.
the capabilities to build themselves from an AI point of view. So
You
that's
have pointed very rightly that infrastructure, but we've talked about, but people. When somebody is asking कि जी कोई skilled मिल जाए मुझे resource to actually do this, we are not finding any skilled resource in Pakistan. अनफॉर्चुनेट रियलिटी है कि जी हमारे यहाँ जो बहुत सारे लोग जो ट्रेन होते हैं या जो शॉप ब्राइट माइंड्स हैं जो आजकल ग्रेजुएट हो रहे हैं वो चले जाते हैं बाहर ऑफ कोर्स बिकॉज ऑफ प्रिवेलिंग कंडीशंस दैट वी हैव इन आवर कंट्री so it's hard to find resources as well. Rightly pointed.
so I think is Pakistan nationally as a nation, are we doing anything to build that talent locally within the country? Yeah.
Uh, well, I have never really gotten to like programs that government have introduced, but मैंने अभी recently हमारी जो एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर इंफॉर्मेशन मिनिस्टर हैं उनका एक प्रेजेंटेशन सुनी थी जो कि मुझे काफ़ी सुपरफिशियल लगी थी बहरहाल उसमें कोई ऐसा कॉन्टेंट नहीं था जिसको मैं आई वाज एक्चुअली लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू इट बट उसमें कुछ ऐसा मिला नहीं मुझे बट यस there are initiatives जहाँ पर जो है वो government is trying to invest into building skill sets. And besides that, of course, what Cisco is doing, we have got a CSR initiative called Networking Academy. So we have about 100,000 graduates uh, every year from networking academies. And AI, of course, is part of that curriculum. So, schools may I myself actually visited a few schools like Ikra University, schools jo hai, Ikra school system, and then there was a university Maju in Karachi. तो वहाँ पर जो है वो I went there. They were graduates, and some of them did CCNA, which is starting associate level certification from Cisco. Cisco doesn't charge anything from the students. So organizations, of course, in silos are definitely as part of their CSR initiatives trying to invest as much as they could into like training, resources within country. I think government is also putting some effort. I'm not aware of uh, कितनी अच्छी और कितनी बुरी है वो इस वक्त at this moment, but yes, they are doing something.
So, Arsalan, moving forward, what do you think will matter more? How well a company's AI runs or how they've built their system?
It's actually both. Like I said, uh, responsible AI is important. So, organization cannot rush into deploying AI. While of course, we like it, everybody likes it. Everybody probably uses chat GPTs and Claude and Perplexity. हमारी ज़िंदगियाँ बहुत आसान हो गई हैं. पहले हम जो हैं वो बहुत भी used to spend a lot of time creative writings, researching. Now, just write what you want and you get the answers.
Yeah.
So definitely from a convenience perspective, employee convenience, customer convenience, it is important to implement. But making sure that systems are robust, it does not provide any information that can be harmful, and there are security guardrails properly in place. So that's very important. So so important, and don't rush. Evaluate properly, and then implement. Responsibly. That's I think my suggestion to all the organizations out there.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you to our audience for tuning in. We'll catch you in the next one.